Thank you. Good morning, council members, state officials and representatives, and members of the public. Welcome to the April 7th meeting of the Social Equity Council, which I'm calling to order at 10:02 a.m. This time I will call the roll. Councilmember Abercrombie. Councilmember Beeman said she may be joining us late. Councilmember Betts. Councilmember Betts.
Present. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Councilmember Borges.
Present.
I am here. Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Gaddis.
Good morning.
Good morning. Councilmember Hawkins.
Present.
Councilmember Jefferson.
Good morning.
Councilmember Karpowitz. Councilmember Medina.
Present.
Councilmember Name. Councilmember Shirley. Councilmember Skyers Thomas.
Present.
Councilmember Valeries.
Present.
Councilmember Santiago Venator. And Councilmember Walton.
Present.
We have a quorum. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the March 3rd, 2026 meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Name, noting for the record that she's here. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is vote to incorporate public comment as part of council public meetings. During our February meeting, this body discussed the possibility of reinstating public comment to our meetings. While the SEC team holds roundtables with social equity licensees, there is sentiment that public comment would enhance transparency and accountability and improve decision-making. That said, those of us who have been on the council since its inception are well aware of the potential for comments that are dominated by organized interests or that are unrelated to our charge. The SEC team prepared procedural rules to address these challenges. That information was shared with this body on Friday as part of our meeting materials. The procedures are designed to provide rules of the road, if you will, for both the council and the public, and would take effect for our May meeting. So if I can have a motion in a second, and then we can have a discussion about that.
So moved.
A second. Discussion.
Was it indicated in that package about whether this was a pilot or not? Or do we have some sort of framework that we will allow this to occur from meeting to meeting?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the question. Our goal was to beta test, if you would, during our in-person quarterly meetings only. And then at some point, we can move forward with incorporating public comment at every meeting. But for the time being, we just wanted to try, air quotes, public commenting during our in-person quarterly meetings.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Executive Director. I'm wondering, given what you stated, so will we revisit this at the end of the year or this time next year to determine whether or not it's going to be a month-to-month?
I will yield to this body to determine that. I am open. I just know that it is important to incorporate the public as a part of our.
I get that part, and the quarterly meetings are fine, in person is fine. I'm just wondering, when will we review, since we're beta testing?
Yeah, I'd say at the end of the year, so we can start fresh next year.
Okay.
But again, I'll defer to this body if you all are interested in extending the beta testing of it until this time next year. I'm also open to that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we agreed to how long we agreed to beta test, and if we didn't, then I don't want to be misleading to the public about how long we plan to stay in this particular framework, quarterly meetings, in-person meetings. That's I wasn't sure.
A
So
quick-
when we vote, I mean, are we going to vote? Are we going to amend it to state that at some point in the future we will revisit, um, discussing whether or not this will transfer to a month-to-month
Good point.
sort of thing?
So I think we can certainly amend the motion to be that we will incorporate public comment for as a pilot through the end of calendar year 2026, at
Cool.
which time we will revisit.
Are you moving that as an amendment?
Yes, with your, as a friendly amendment to your motion.
Yeah, I second it. Well, someone else has to second.
Second it.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis, I saw you came off mute. I thought I heard you.
Yeah, no, I did. Thanks for sending over the packet. I reviewed everything. I like the time constraints, the structure. One question I just had is I'm not sure what you guys did previously, just around speaker registration. Is there any window as far as a cutoff? Just to kind of give some predictability, like a 24 hours notice before or once the agenda is posted, they can sign up. But I just know it might be a little bit easier, at least for us and staff, to know who's going to be speaking and people just kind of showing up and taking the time away from people who are actually committed to have something noted that they want to say that they've been planning on. So I just had questions about that.
Perfect. Marty?
Thank you, Councilman Davis. We did not include a time frame because we did not want to be perceived as limiting public participation in terms of maybe folks didn't have the time to register ahead of time and could register once they joined the in-person meeting. As we've noted in the rules and procedures, the public comment is limited to the items that are on the agenda, right? So anything that wasn't an agenda item will not be allowed, if you would. So I think there are other rules, if you would, that sort of cover your concern in terms of people showing up and sort of deviating the conversation or anything like that.
Okay, no, sounds good. I was just thinking of like how the public hearings kind of go and testimony, and there's usually a list and like a registration, and just the one thing's
Yeah.
gonna go off the rails and accordingly, so. But no, I'm good. Obviously, this is beta, so if things change, you could modify. But no, that was it. So thanks.
And I say, it was a draft, so we provided the draft for this type of comment. So if you feel, if the body feels that we should have a 24-hour sort of clock prior to the meeting, we can add that, certainly.
Thank you, Councilman Davis, and Marty, and I actually think that's a good idea. You should be able to, you can't register after 24 hours before the meeting, so that at least this body knows who is signed up and who is registered to speak. Not that we have to know who it is, but at least we have a sense of what folks are planning to discuss. Because my understanding is that if they're going to register, they have to indicate what they are showing up to speak on, or which agenda item they are showing up to speak on. So I think it would be helpful and probably just easier to have that framework in place.
Thank you. We'll incorporate it.
Thank you. Councilman Medina.
I was wondering, thank you, and through the chair, I was wondering if there's a kind of bare minimum through state statute that's required for public hearings as a result of it being a public agency and in a formal public hearing. Maybe the Office of State Ethics has kind of like a minimum standard that may apply to the notice time. So I was curious if that's something we should look at.
Yeah, so our team I'm sorry.
No, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. Our team looked into the FOIA regulations and the applicable rules in terms of public meetings, which are different from like a public hearing where there's a contentious aspect to it, right? These are public meetings. We have the discretion to have public comment at these meetings or not. And I think, to your point, Councilman Medina, we were careful to comply with the rules and the standards that are already in place.
Got it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you. Any abstentions? Okay, passes. So then we move on to vote to approve the public comment rules and procedures. Given the conversation that preceded, that vote would be to approve with the recommended amendments, as discussed. I have a motion for that.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. Very good. And thank you to the SEC team for all of the work that you put into putting those procedures together, and putting in this framework. We now move on to updates from the SEC, and so I will turn it over to E.D. McGee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, thank you to all of our council members for your support in helping us to inform the public comment policy. Appreciate that. Again, good morning, members of the council, general public. I'll keep my remarks focused on the three areas: our financial position, the Reimagine and Revitalize program, and key legislative updates. Next slide. Starting with our financials, not much has changed, but I will highlight that the council remains in a strong and disciplined position. Our total fiscal year 26 operating budget, again, is approximately 17.5 million, with 12 million dedicated annually to our community reinvestment program. As you can see, as of March 31st, our monthly expenditures totaled approximately $541,000. We are, as you can see, we're pacing capital intentionally, balancing deployment with oversight to ensure long-term sustainability and compliance. Next slide. So as you all may have seen on socials and many of our communications, and I've shared over the last month or so, the Reimagine Revitalize program is moving along rather smoothly. This is where you'll see the most visible shift since our last meeting. We have now moved from program setup to implementation. All grant manager contracts are officially in place. Our infrastructure and compliance systems are operational. And importantly, we are on the ground out in community, meeting with community-based organizations where they are. We've hosted 4 community-based information sessions in Bridgeport, Stamford, New Britain, and the region of New London, Norwich, and Wyndham. That's approximately 125 participants representing different community-based organizations from each of those regions. With 6 additional sessions scheduled statewide, we are excited to continue rolling out the redesign program. In addition, we officially kicked off and onboarded our R2 grant managers at our offices last week, aligning expectations around compliance, reporting, and frankly, program delivery. As many of you have asked on behalf of the communities that we all represent on this council, the notice of funding opportunity remains on track for Q2 release. what matters here is not just that we are giving out money, we're deploying funds, but how. So we've built a model that ensures fiscal oversight through grant managers, standardized reporting and data collection, and lastly, and importantly, technical assistance so that community-based organizations are positioned to succeed, not just receive funding. Next slide. All right, so finally, on the ledge and policy updates, the council staff, we continue to monitor several key bills that could directly impact the council. We've shared these bills last month, but just to kind of remind you all, we are still in the 2026 legislative process. We're meeting with all of our leaders within the various caucuses at the legislature. Today, we're also going to be meeting with representatives from the Connecticut Cannabis Chamber to continue our discussions. But as you can see on the screen there are several proposed key legislations. Chief among them, from our perspective, is House Bill 5351, and that consists of strengthening social equity protections. You'll also see Senate Bill 405, which proposes diverting a portion of cannabis tax revenue, and House Bill 5109, which would shift to a flat tax model. Again, we continue to engage with our social equity entrepreneurs, our community stakeholders, council members, just to name a few. And so we'll keep you posted on those conversations as we continue to work alongside all stakeholders to create an opportunity for all to win. Next slide. All right, so I'm not going to read any of the bullets. I just wanted to include these sets of forward-thinking points here as we continue to work alongside many folks moving forward. But while that remains on the screen, I do want to take a moment to introduce two key additions to our leadership team here at the SEC. I am extremely excited, and Caesar, if you don't mind, you can just drop this so that we can see the faces when I mention the names here. First, I'd like to officially introduce Attorney Nichelle Mullins, who will serve as our Chief Legal Director. Nichelle brings an extensive legal background along with experience as a public health official, giving her a unique perspective at the intersection of law, policy, and community impact. She will play a critical role in strengthening our compliance, governance, and regulatory strategy as we continue to scale. At this time, I want to formally introduce to this amazing body of council members, Nichelle Mullins. Nichelle, did you want to say anything?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the warm introduction, and I look forward to working with all of you. I'm excited about starting here, and I'm very passionate about the mission and vision of the SEC. So thank you for the welcome, and I look forward to meeting you all and working with you.
Oh, thank you, Attorney Mullins. Second, we have Corinne Moody, who will serve as, I'm going to say experience officer at the moment. We're still working through a title here, but Corinne is a former CEO of the Habitat for Humanity and a proven leader in community development and organizational management, just to name a couple of her extensive background. She will oversee the expansion of the council's loan program and other key resources for social equity entrepreneurs, ensuring we are not only deploying capital, but building sustainable pathways for business growth and long-term success. Again, welcome, Corinne Moody. You want to say a few things?
Good morning to the council. Just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this work. And I think last night I stayed up reading and just getting engrossed in everything. So I look forward to what we're going to do and accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're super excited, again, on behalf of the SEC staff and the council to have both of them join us as we move into this next phase of execution here at the SEC. Just a gentle reminder in closing, statements of financial interests must be filed by May 1st of this year. These are required by the Office of State Ethics and are due annually. To close, the council is now operating in a different phase, financially disciplined, programmatically active, and strategically engaged. So we are no longer simply just building a system, but we are managing outcomes and enforcing standards. So again, I look forward to our continued discussions as we continue to build and work alongside our community and social equity entrepreneurs. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. And I appreciate, first of all, welcome, Nichelle and Corinne. Great to see you both. Excited to have you as part of the team. I did want to maybe just spend a couple of minutes on the legislation. I know that I have heard certainly from a few social equity applicants, but presumably my fellow council colleagues have as well. And this is regarding House Bill 5350. And, so there's an aspect of that legislation that seeks to reduce the equity joint venture time period of ownership from 7 years to 3 years. This objective was raised last session through House Bill 7178. But that language was not included in the final version of last year's legislation. I think because there were just questions as to whether a shift would prove contrary to the intent of the statute, right? Vis-a-vis social equity participation in the cannabis industry. Director McGee explained his position on this request by way of an op-ed. Hopefully you all saw it in Connecticut News Junkie and I think the Hartford Business Journal. But as we are approached by folks who feel that this shift should happen, I did want to just create space for a conversation should this body want to discuss it. Councilman Shirley, I know that you have named sort of like the J curve, if you will, right? And it takes at least 3 years before a business can turn a profit. And I certainly understand that. I think it's important to keep in mind a couple of things. The first is, and I shared this with Director McGee, this framework was created to ensure sort of community reinvestment. We had a lot of folks that really wanted to see this bill passed and talked about their commitment to investing in those communities that have been disproportionately harmed. But if I've learned nothing else through this journey, it is that you cannot legislate integrity and you cannot legislate community commitment, right? And so I say that to say there are certainly arguments on both sides for or against keeping it at 7 years or reducing it to 3. I will also name that this is probably the only business or license that the state provides that requires a certain time period of ownership. So those are just sort of some of the things that are on my mind as we consider this legislation. So with that, I will stop talking and see if anyone else on the council has thoughts, or Director McGee, if you have additional thoughts you want to share. Councilman Shirley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I think expressed to you and to Director McGee when it was first brought up, as you mentioned, in very general terms, it takes a while before businesses begin to show a profit, but not just show a profit, but really begin to increase in value, which a lot of times is dependent on other factors, not just its ability to show a profit. That's certainly important, but sometimes in our case, I think it's that and also just the development of the industry in this state as it is. We need to, it's going to mature. It has matured just as we have, and it has expanded in ways. So my concern was that the backers of certain entrepreneurs would not take unfair advantage of the social equity applicants in getting them out prior to the chance for the businesses to really begin to take off. That said, I think that it's important that we consider the need, well, the desire of the social equity entrepreneur himself. So if they wish to sell earlier than 7 months, earlier than 7 years, and they've been advised that that is their best option, then certainly, I would not stand. I'd be all for that. So, yeah, that's my position is what reservations I might have are solely based on whether or not the social equity entrepreneur is being forced to sell when he or she does not want to. And if not, if they wish to get out, then certainly, I think they should have the options that they desire.
Thank you, Councilman Shirley. Councilman Walton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think my question becomes is if we can just discuss if you have any feedback from social equity entrepreneurs in terms of them favoring this or whether they're for this or against this in terms of, I know you can't tell all, but in your conversations, whether it's yourself or Executive Director McGee, where our social equity entrepreneurs are landing on this.
Sure. So the ones that have reached out to me, and by, spirit of full disclosure, this is a small microcosm of the entire social equity applicant universe. They want to be able to change their percentage of ownership or seed their partnership after 3 years. I think some of what has been named to me was considerations around where the cannabis industry is and where it's going. Might this be sort of the optimal time for them to get out, recognizing that, depending upon what happens at the federal level, depending what happens with the state's market, it might not be as profitable for them to hold on for 7 years. That said, I think one of the current concerns that I have had really comes back to sort of this space was created for the purpose of ensuring that there was community involvement in this industry, that those who had been impacted by the war on drugs had a space to be part of an industry that was going to make money. But again, and I know for me, one of the things that excited me about having social equity applicants in this space was folks who had come from these communities would then hire folks from these communities, which would then feed into the economy of these impacted areas. But, so is there a way that we can hold the larger operators to the same sort of requirement, right? From a workforce perspective, from, the community investment perspective, maybe that's part of the language. And I know that Director McGee and the team are in conversation with legislators to talk through ways that we might be able to at least preserve the social equity aspect of this without holding the applicants themselves to a standard that other license holders in the state do not have. And by the way, the multi-state operators can sort of play a shell game and sell to a different company or create a different company. And, so they're not being held to the same standards that the applicants are. So I know that was a long answer. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Executive Director McGee, would you want to add on, or is that sufficient?
That's definitely sufficient in terms of the response, but I will defer to my legal team to, I think, frame this out a little bit because I think we're missing a few pieces here. Madi?
So I think we have
Yeah,
Thank you. So I say that we've had both, right? Folks that support maintaining the 7-year structure because that's what they signed up for. That's what they came in. Those were their plans. And, we've had the experience that Madam Chair has mentioned where they're hesitant about it. Some of them because they know that the change won't necessarily give them the option. But rather they will be automatically bought out, right? And that's something that where we hesitate and have concerns with because it's some of these folks won't have an option, right? Their contracts state that once allowed by statute, the backer will automatically come in and trigger the purchase of the social equity portion. So I think that sort of summarizes what we've seen.
I have a quick question. I couldn't raise my hand. I don't know what's going on with my iPad, but the question is, what are the cons in this? Like, I think that needs to be stated. Like, what's bad if this was to happen? Because we're talking about how would this hurt social equity? I think that's the bigger question right now.
So what we've run different scenarios internally to see what the contractual agreements are for social equity individuals. And as I mentioned, a lot of them have a provision that states once allowed by the statutory framework, backers will step into the shoes of SEIs, and that basically removes social equities or a good percentage of social equity individuals from the industry. And, eventually you'll have an industry that doesn't have social equity individuals because they were all bought out by backers. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so to be clear on how this legislation was passed, pretty much on social equity, if we were to allow that to happen, it would hurt the whole program. That's what I'm hearing. Good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this because, we oftentimes we hear just one side of the conversation. You've heard where the Social Equity Council, where we stand in terms of our commitment to social equity entrepreneurs, but we also understand business, right? We understand that there are some of our social equity entrepreneurs who are choosing to support whatever negotiated deal that they've come up with. And we want to be in the position, SEC, to provide recommendations and allow for social equity entrepreneurs to land wherever they need to land, right? The other piece to that is, and I gotta say this out loud because it's important that we're all on the same page. We are going through a process in that we all need to recommit ourselves to the intent of the Social Equity Council, the legislation. Where we fell short initially was really onboarding a cohort of new business owners to the culture of equity. And so right now we're competing against, well, who's standing with who, right? And so that's been a challenge from my perspective, not anything we can't overcome, but the reality is a lot of these businessmen and women are in situations where they just have to make a difficult decision, right? And so without losing or compromising the intent of our organization, we're doing our best to work alongside those individuals who are choosing to say, look, I need to sell. I need to get out. And we want to be good good business people, but we also, again, do not want to compromise the integrity of the SEC.
I guess through the chair, I wondered, could we get staff perspective on whether there's a feeling that this is a fairly blunt tool for what I'm hearing is kind of like a necessary scalpel approach for a subset of social equity entrepreneurs that are in a position where buying out is advantageous, but not necessarily advantageous for the remainder of social equity applicants social equity entrepreneurs on the whole. And if rather than a kind of universal readjustment, if there's some kind of amendment for specific exceptions, that would be a better approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail right on the head. That is exactly what we are contemplating, and we're engaging with folks where they are, which is why we're meeting with all of the various stakeholders. And so instead of just making a hasty decision to reduce the time in which businesses are able to sell or change ownership, we want to have these conversations. And we think that this is important, but time is of the essence. So to your point, Councilman Medina, that's exactly what we're doing, to your latter point.
And just as a follow-up on that, I guess, do we have as a council and staff have a good sense of the kind of financial model of the industry, like whether the industry is actually maturing, if it's still in its growth phase? Because it would, to your point on the kind of like realigning ourselves with the purpose of and the intent of what this whole setup was, I would imagine we would want to have a lens to the larger market and where the market is going that may provide some guidance on whether it's actually too early to consider this in light of where the market is, or it's the right time, depending, I guess.
Yeah, interesting question. Marty, I don't know if you want to respond, or Caesar, based on where we are. We can't hear you. I think you're on mute. You gotta, yeah.
Sorry about that. I think depending on who you ask and where they are, right, where there's their position in the industry, they'll give you a different answer, right? So I think we are still definitely in the growing phase. Just yesterday we were having a conversation, right, around the programs across different states and where they stand. Some of them are more advanced than others. Some of them, their social equity programs have more challenges than others. So it's a difficult question to answer because, again, from a social equity individual perspective, um, like our CEO mentioned, some of them are in a position that whether by virtue of their decisions or by virtue of their backers' decisions that have put them in positions to want to sell, they'll say, it's just not good and I need out now, versus someone who has a better relationship with their backer and has been able to hit the ground running. They'll say it's good and I want to stay for the 7 years. I don't want to have my backer have the ability to buy me out prior to that 7-year period. So.
Got it. And apologies, I know I'm taking way too much time here. I guess just as a follow-up, what I was thinking more was on kind of like global consumption in the market generally, and whether we are seeing a year-over-year growth, and that year-over-year growth would indicate that the market either has or hasn't matured. I'm assuming at some point there's a plateau. And what we probably want to be able to do is ensure that folks can, as a business owner, particularly if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting something, and obviously, ideally, you're willing to sell and kind of at the opportune time, we would want to time this prior to the market maturing and plateauing. And I just wanted to get a sense if we have an understanding even of consumption, whether the market continues to grow and at what percentage year over year, or if we're feeling it's at a place of potential plateauing comparative to other states or whatever it may be.
Caesar, you want to quickly? Yeah.
So month over month, we have been seeing growth in the adult use market. On average, and this is at least going back to the start of the year, when we're comparing, for example, March of last year to March of this year, February of last year to February of this year, et cetera, there's been about 1 million more in sales on the adult use market each year overall. So I personally feel that the market is still in its stage of growth. And as our cultivators come online, a lot of things could change. Prices could go down for kind of those middlemen manufacturers like our food and beverage manufacturers, product packagers, and our product manufacturers. So I think it's too early for us to say whether we're near the plateau or not. I do know in some other states it was around like 5 to 10 years of the adult use market before it kind of hit, that high number plateau. And in one of our marketplace cannabis subcommittees, someone from Massachusetts let us know that around 3 years is when a lot of those initial hurdles start to phase out and the market starts to stabilize and kind of like hit its real growth. And we're kind of at that point right now. So I can do a projection of like where we were last year, just all the months that we have, and maybe do one from February or sorry, not February, from 2023, 2024, and 2025 from the months that we have and show you what the growth is. And I can send that back to this body.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And then Madam Chair, will also defer to DCP, Attorney Skyers Thomas, if she's interested, has any insights, perhaps.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask her to chime in.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Well, sadly, I'm very interested in the conversation and don't have the insight to present right now. But given that this offers flexibility, we do see that. We definitely recognize that piece. And the other aspect too is we've all said it. Our industry is young, so only a couple years. So we're watching it, waiting to see how best moves like this would impact the licensees. But no real other input. At this point, I'm truly just listening.
Thank you. Councilmember Valdez.
Thank you for the opportunity. A couple comments with regards to the growth of the market. It's kind of my understanding that because we don't have as much cultivators out there that may be filling the full demand signals, that we have potentially a limited growth, that we're seeing like $1 million annual growth is small compared to the size of the market. It sounds like a lot in isolation. And that does definitely impact the value of the organizations as they move forward, should that really be the case. But it seems to me like we're trying to legislate a mandate without any choice in the matter. So the thought here is, why can't we let people choose at 3 years instead of mandate that they must? And that gives people the opportunity to stay in up to the 7 years, so they choose to. It seems quite unfair to force someone out of an organization that they are fully participating in based on a piece of legislation. We don't do that in any other organization. So we tend to kind of be black and white sometimes in how we put legislation into play, but I think everyone's comments up to this point have had a concern with forcing an equity owner to give up their shares if they don't want to, versus also requiring someone to stay in a business that doesn't seem to be fitting for them at that time either. So is there any conversation with the legislators on a choice point at 3 years?
So I yield to Madi, but I think what I had heard her say was that some of these agreements, that language is already baked in, and I don't know that the legislation can undo what's already been an agreement that's already been signed. But Madi, if I'm misunderstanding, please let me know.
Yeah, I mean, some of these agreements were entered into back in 2022, 2023, when there was no actual ownership and control guidance to prevent some of the structures that we're seeing now. and that, we've been pushing back on. So yeah, to your point, Madam Chair, there are some contractual obligations that I'm not sure how legislatively we can get around them, right? If we reduce the time period, I'm not sure how we can protect these folks that agreed to sell once, if and when legislation was changed to reduce the restricted period.
And I don't.
And Marty, can you just explain SEIs can be replaced? Because I think
Sure,
I think
yeah.
there's a lot of like conflating of the existing policies that are in place. If you can just elaborate, and then I'll double back.
Sure. So we talk about folks being forced to stay, right, as part of an entity, but to remain as to keep your social equity status as a cannabis establishment, you have to have an SEI. It doesn't have to be the originally approved SEI, right? The SEI can be replaced if I'm part of a social equity entity and I decide at year 3 that for whatever reason, maybe because I have attributed income and I have taxes that I can't pay and the entity won't fund the payment of my taxes, then I want to get out. I can be replaced with another social equity individual, right? And that ensures that there's continuity in terms of social equity participation in the cannabis market versus just allowing the backers to buy out the social equity portion of the entity.
Yeah, and the other piece, I'll say to your point, your question, Kelly, we are in conversation with the legislature, namely the Committee of Cognizance, and then that's General Law Committee, and also the leadership, to discuss compromise, right? How can we perhaps entertain reducing the years a backer is able to buy or exit without, again, losing an opportunity for the SEI to really retain revenue, make money, right? And we're finding that after 3 years, perhaps they can see some of that revenue. It's not certain. We will have losers. This is business, and we'll have winners. So we are entertaining that. I will encourage you all to also look at your council packets. I have outlined in the packets some recommendations for this body to review. Again, we're still in negotiation, and we will be meeting with the chamber this afternoon to discuss some of those compromises as well. So it's not a hard stop. And I want to say that loud and clearly on this call with 43, folks, 20 of which are part of the public. We are interested in meeting folks at least halfway. And that is, making sure we're able to create some really, really attractive deals and also providing tools that many of our social equity individuals are able to use on their own. Folks have thrown around paternalistic terms. That is not our job. These folks are business owners. And so we are now positioning ourselves to be more of recommendation. We will review your contracts and your agreements. It is not our responsibility to tell you yes or no, right? But on the same token, we will not lose, again, the intent of the Social Equity Council and the policies that this body has voted in place for us to adhere to.
Councilmember Sherman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one other quick note. I think one of the differences in this industry from other businesses is that there are several moving parts. I mean, on the one hand, the restriction of the number of outlets issued, licenses issued, increases value, and the fewer, then the more valuable the few are. On the other hand, the banking restrictions over which we have no no control, was something that restricts value. And when those restrictions are released, and there is an assumption that they will be released in the near term, then I think then those of us who are looking at the values of businesses would have to take a look at each license to determine what the value is now that they can borrow money from banks, or if larger entities like Philip Morris or the Coca-Cola, if they become interested in businesses in this state, revenue will be a secondary issue. It'll be, the issue will be value. So all I'm saying is that there are other issues that have to do with the value of these licenses, of these businesses as we go forward. And I think we should take those into consideration. And the social equity entrepreneurs should also take those into consideration as they make their decisions around how they're going to look at exiting. And I think for those who are in positions where they have no choice, maybe they should take another look at that and see if that can be modified, as Director McGee suggests. But at the end of the day, I think that there's a connection between choice and value, and those are two critical issues that as a council we need to have a clear view of, and as do the social equity entrepreneurs. Thank you.
David, thank you. Councilman Walton, I thought I saw your hand, but now I don't. Are you good?
Yeah, no, I'm good, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands. Well, I appreciate everyone for contributing to this discussion. Clearly, this is nuanced and lots to consider. Many thanks to Madi and Cesar just for thinking about this so thoughtfully. But I wanted to make sure that as people are coming to and fro to the council members, that there is an understanding of all the nuance and the fact that the team is working diligently to try and the kind of legislation that won't please everyone, but finds a balance. So with that, we are now to the point of anything for the good of the order. Seeing none, Councilmember Katz.
Madam Chairwoman, great meeting, very informative. Shout out to the SEC team. I move adjournment.
Second.
Right. Well, I assume all in favor? Somebody just wants to hang out? Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Take good care.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.